All right, let's dive in. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the digital world to answer a really simple but kind of profound question. How does a brilliant idea actually become the software you can't live without? I mean, think about it. You've got those apps you use every single day, right? For work, for fun, for connecting with people. But have you ever stopped to wonder how it went from just a concept in someone's head to the polished tool on your screen? It's a fascinating, really structured adventure. So let's trace that path together. Okay, so the first thing you really need to get your head around is this. Every app, every single piece of software doesn't start with a bunch of code. Nope, it starts as a system. And you're probably thinking, what does that even mean? Well, at its core, a system is just a bunch of different parts, all working together to get something done. Think about your favorite ride-sharing app. That's a system, right? It connects drivers, passengers, and a payment system, all to achieve one goal, getting you from point A to point B. It's really just about organizing all the pieces, the inputs, the processes, the outputs, to solve a specific problem. Okay, so you've got a goal. You know you need a system to make it happen. You can't just start building, right? That would be total chaos. You need a map, a reliable roadmap, a step-by-step guide that the pros have been perfecting for decades. And this is that map. It's called the System Development Lifecycle, or SDLC for short. Think of it as the official playbook. It's this structured process that takes an idea all the way through these 7 phases to make sure what comes out the other end is a high-quality product. So let's walk through the most important parts of this journey. All right, first stop on our map, analysis and design. You know, if building software is like building a house, this is the part where you bring in the architect. You'd never start laying bricks without a super detailed blueprint, right? Same idea here. This is where the real detective work begins. A good analyst knows they have to dig deeper than what users say they want. They're trying to uncover the real problems that need solving. It's such a critical phase of just listening and discovering. So how do they do that? Well, they've got this whole toolkit of techniques. They'll do interviews, send out detailed questionnaires, run these big collaborative workshops. They'll even literally shadow users to see how they work day to day. The whole goal here is to get every single possible requirement down on paper before anyone even thinks about writing a line of code. So once you've gathered all those user needs, that's the what, you can finally move into the design phase. This is where you start figuring out the how. You know, how is the system actually going to work to meet all those needs we just uncovered? A huge part of design is something called modeling, and that's really just a fancy word for creating visual blueprints of the software. So something like a data flow diagram. I love this analogy. It's like a plumbing schematic, but for information. It maps out exactly how data comes into the system, where it gets processed, where it's stored, and how it eventually gets to you, the user. Okay, blueprints are approved. Time to put on the hard hats. Now we get to the implementation and testing phase. This is where the digital system finally gets built. And then, and this is super important, it gets rigorously tested to make sure it's rock solid. Now, when it comes to the actual construction part, there isn't just one way to go about it. Developers usually follow one of 2 major philosophies, and they both have a totally different approach to how things get done. So, on one hand, you've got waterfall. It's the classic, step-by-step approach. You finish one phase completely, like analysis, before you move to the next, like design, then coding. It's all in a strict sequence. And this works great for projects where you know exactly what you need from day one. But then, on the other side, you have agile. This is totally different. It's all about iteration. You work in these short bursts called sprints, building and getting feedback on little pieces of the app as you go. It's super flexible, which makes it perfect for projects where you know things are probably going to change. But here's the thing. No matter how you build it, you have to test it. And testing isn't about finding fault or blaming developers, not at all. It's a critical quality step. The whole point is to stress test the system, to find and fix any weaknesses before it ever gets into the hands of a user. So the app is built, it's tested, it works. We're done, right? Not even close. Now comes the launch. And just as important, keeping it running smoothly for, well, the long haul. And going live isn't just flipping a switch and hoping for the best. Teams use some really smart strategies to lower the risk. For instance, there's something called a canary deployment. That's where they release a new feature to just a tiny group of users first. If everything goes well, then they'll gradually roll it out to everybody else. It's basically like the old canary in the coal mine, but for software. And this brings us to one of the biggest misconceptions in the software world. You'd think the initial build is the most expensive part, but a shocking amount of the total cost, we're talking up to 70% in some cases, isn't in building it. It's in what comes after, maintenance. Right, that cost is maintenance, but maintenance isn't just about fixing bugs when something breaks. A huge chunk of it is what's called perfective maintenance. That's adding cool new features that users are asking for. And then there's adaptive maintenance, which is stuff like making sure the app works on the latest operating system. The truth is, software is never really done. It's always evolving. So, who's the person guiding this entire crazy journey? Who's the one managing this whole complicated process, from the very first conversation all the way to the final product and beyond? Well, that would be the system analyst. The best way to think of a system analyst is as the ultimate translator. They're the bridge, right? They connect the real-world business problem on one side with the technical solution on the other. They have to understand the company's goals, the user's needs, and then work with the developers to make it all happen. And to be that bridge, you need an incredibly diverse skill set. I mean, you have to be technical enough to talk code with developers, analytical enough to solve really tricky problems, and then you need the business and communication skills to work with literally everyone involved. Ultimately, that's what a system analyst does. They bring order to the chaos. They take a messy, real-world problem, they apply that structured roadmap we talked about, the SDLC, and they guide the whole team to turn a fuzzy idea into a real, functioning, valuable piece of software. And there you have it. That's the secret journey of software. So, the next time you open up your favorite app, take a second to think about the incredible process that turned that idea into a real thing. This map, this process, it's everywhere. So I'll leave you with this. What invisible system are you relying on right now, at this very moment?